Both my friend in Arizona and Stu Leonard in Connecticut are customer oriented. Serve the customer. Serve the customer better than anyone else is serving the customer. Stu Leonard's company policy is conspicuously displayed in his store for all to read, and it goes like this. Rule number 1, the customer is always right. Rule number 2, if the customer is ever wrong, reread rule number 1. Upon seeing a wealthy customer drive in, many service station operators might say to themselves, I ought to be in his business. Not so. There is just as much opportunity in one business as there is in another, if only we will stop playing copycat with each other and begin thinking creatively, begin thinking in new directions. It's there, believe me, and it is our job to find it. Take the time to stand back and look at your work as a stranger might. A stranger might ask, why does he do it that way? Has he noticed how what he's doing might be capitalized upon or multiplied? If you're happy with things as they are, then by all means, keep them that way. But there's great fun in finding diamonds hiding in ourselves and in our work. We never get bored or blasé or find ourselves in a rut. A rut, we're reminded, is really nothing more than a grave with the ends kicked out. Some of the most interesting businesses in the world grew out of what was originally a very small idea in a very small area. If something is needed in one town, then the chances are that it's needed also in all towns and cities all over the country. You might ask yourself also, how good am I at what I'm presently doing? Do you know all there is to know about your work? Would you call yourself a first-class professional at your work? How would your stand up against the work of others in your life? The educator and author J.B. Matthews wrote, unless a person has trained himself for this chance, the chance will only make him ridiculous. A great occasion is worth to a man exactly what his preparation enables him to make of it. I'm often appalled by how little people know about the business they're in. That's not my department, they would say. I suppose if they would see a fire starting in someone else's department, they wouldn't report it. Most real estate people don't sell homes and property. They show homes and property, something like a 6-year-old child could do. They often know nothing at all about selling or marketing, yet they call themselves real estate professionals. They're actually tour guides. This is the living room, they say to an intelligent man and woman who already know what a living room looks like. Someone, come to think of it, I think it was me, once wrote that human race is much like a convoy of ships in time of war. The whole fleet is low down to protect the slowest ships. And human beings march slowly en masse, unmindful of the diamonds beneath their feet. To become diamond miners, the first thing we need to do is to break away from the crowd and quit assuming that because people in the millions are living that way, it must be the best way. It is not the best way. It is the average way. The people doing the best way are way out in front. They are so far ahead of the crowd, you can't even see their dust anymore. They're the people who live and work on the leading edge, the cutting edge, and they mark the way for all the rest to follow. You and I have a choice to make, really. It takes imagination, curious imagination, to see diamonds in their rough state as cut and polished gemstones, and to see a pile of iron ore as stainless steel. To prospect for your own acres of diamond, develop a faculty we might call intelligent objectivity. The faculty to stand back and look at your work as a person from Mars might look at it. Within the framework of what industry or profession does your job fall? Do you know all you can know about your industry or profession? Isn't it time for a refreshing change of some kind? How can the customer be given a better break? Each person, ask yourself, how can I increase my service today? There are rare and very marketable diamonds lurking all around me. Have I been looking for them, examining every facet of my work and of the industry or profession in which it has its life? There are better ways to do what I'm presently doing. What are they? How will my work be better performed 20 years from now? Everything in the world is in a state of evolution. How can I do now what will eventually be done anyway? Think of what Stu Leonard did with his dairy route, and my friend in Arizona with his small service station, what Famous Amos did with his chocolate chip cookies, and what Procter and Gamble did with soap. Sure, there's risk involved. There's no growth of any kind without risk. We start running risks when we get out of bed in the morning. Risks are good for us. They bring out the best that's in us. They brighten the day. They brighten the eye and get the mind cooking. They quicken the step and put a new, shining look on our days. Human beings should never be settled. It's okay for chickens and cows and cats, but it's wrong for human beings. People start to die when they become settled. We need to keep things stirred up. Back in 1931, Lloyd C. Douglas, the world-famous novelist who wrote The Road, Magnificent Obsession, and other best-selling books, wrote a magazine article titled Escape. In that article, Douglas asked, who of us has not at some time toyed briefly with the temptation to run away? If all the people who have given that idea the temporary hospitality of their imagination were to have acted upon, few would be living at their present address. And of the small minority who did carry the impulse into effect, it is doubtful if many ever disengaged themselves as completely as they had hoped from the problems that hurled them forth. More often than otherwise, it may be surmised they packed up their troubles in their old kit bags and took them along. The point of the article was simply, don't try to run away from your troubles. Overcome them, prevail right where you are. What we're really after is not escape from our perplexities and frustrations, but a triumph over them. And one of the best ways to accomplish that is to get on course and stay there. Restate and reaffirm your goal, the thing you want most to do, the place in life you want most to reach. See it clearly in your mind's eye, just as you can envision the airport in Los Angeles when you board your plane in New York. Or like a great ship in a storm, just keep your heading and your engines running. The storm will pass, although sometimes it seems that it never will, and one bright morning you'll find yourself passing the harbor light. Then you can give a big sigh of relief, rest a while, and almost before you know it, you'll find your eyes turning seaward again. You'll think of a new harbor you'd like to visit, a new voyage upon which to embark, and once again, you'll set out. That's just the way this funny-looking, two-legged, curious, imaginative, tinkering, fiddling dreamer called human being operates. He escapes from the problems not by running away from them, but by overcoming them. And as soon as he overcomes one set of problems, he starts looking around for new and more difficult pickles to get himself into and out of. So if you find yourself looking at travel folders and thinking of running away, go ahead, think about them. It will get your mind off things for a while. Then zero in on your goal. We'll talk more about that later in this program, and get busy. Take one thing at a time, and before you know it, you'll start seeing those diamonds scattered over your world, and you'll be out in the clear again. If you feel like running away from it all once in a while, you're perfectly normal. If you stay and get rid of your problems by working your way through them, you're a successful citizen. Start taking an hour a day with a legal pad and pen to dissect your word. Take it apart and look at it and its constituent parts. Look at it again repeatedly. There you will see that there's opportunity there. That's your acre of diamond.